All right, so let's introduce ourselves here. My name is Lisa Crosby. I am the technology evangelist here at Barhead Solutions. That essentially means I've got my eye on all of the new and exciting and future stuff that's coming out. So, what are the new technologies that are coming through in the Power Platform, in Dynamics 365? How can we help you understand what they are? How can we help you make sure that you can connect those into your business? I'm also a Microsoft Business Applications MVP, which essentially means I work with the community in my spare time outside of my day job in a role there to encourage people to learn and to share and to work with the Power Platform. As part of the Business Application Summit event last week, I was actually a regional lead for the virtual hackathon we did with 390 people. So if you see anything around Hack for Good, that was an extraordinary experience that we worked on with the community as part of this event. Roshona.
All right, thanks, Lisa. Hi, everyone. I am Roshona, and I'm one of the Power Platform trainers here at Barhead. So part of my role is to deliver content to you about the Power Platform. So we run training around Power Apps, Power BI, and we're really excited to be able to show you the highlights today of MBAS. It was a really exciting event last week, so hopefully you're looking forward to it.
Excellent. All right, so just a very brief introduction. Many of you have joined us at these events before. For those of you who don't know us, we are Barhead Solutions. We are a Microsoft partner. That means that all of the technology and stuff that we're talking about here today, Microsoft builds all this technology. Our role is to help you turn that into a real solution that can solve a business problem in your organization. So if you come across anything you see here today that you think, hey, wow, I reckon that would help us out, please reach out to us after the session. We've got a lot of things going on with rapid deployment at the moment to get solutions happening quickly and support if you are building your own solutions on the Power Platform. Lots of special offers coming through from Microsoft as well to help in the current circumstances. So please reach out to us if there's anything that we can do there. We are an inner circle partner. We work very, very closely with Microsoft, and we've got a number of awards that you'll see there. And we're physically located kind of very dispersed at the moment in Sydney, Brisbane, Melbourne, and Manila. I'm coming to you from Melbourne. Roshona is in Sydney. Our team is fully operational. We're very used to remote work. So we are absolutely here to help you with any of the things you might hear or see today that might help you. All right, so let's get started with having a look at what's new, and I've called this one "What's New May 2020" because we're actually going to start running this every month from here on. We'll do a monthly session giving you an update with what's new, because there's so much going on with the platform that we're really hoping that kind of condensing it down like this for you will make it easier for you to see what's happening. So these are the parts of the platform that we're talking about today, in the rough running order of how we're going to be going through them. And really, as an overarching theme of what's coming through and the messaging from the Business Application Summit and in general right now, it is absolutely the moment for a low-code platform. So what we're looking at here is, rapid solution development, high velocity, low-code development. Transformation is no longer a choice. We have been forced to interact with each other differently, to work remotely, do business differently, and so this platform really comes into its own right now. We've seen, a lot of rapid solutions developed at the moment, and more than ever, we need to find ways to move more quickly. And the idea of this is where low code can really kind of come into the picture and really shine. So the other thing that's really coming through in this release wave and out of the Business Application Summit is that we're working with a single integrated solution to solve enterprise application needs in a very fast and rapid way. And this idea of an integrated solution is really about that these pieces just work very well together. So as we go through today, you'll see that a lot of the announcements that are coming through, rather than new pieces, are actually about how the pieces work well together. So we're going to be talking about things like the Common Data Service integration with Power BI, Power Automate integration with Power BI, Power Automate with Power Virtual Agents, and Teams with everything, because Teams has become, the place where we all live and work. And the idea is that, I'm using the word integration, but really it's just about these tools working seamlessly together, that from whatever tool you're choosing choosing to work in, you can access all of the others in this kind of seamless experience. So as we go through our highlights today, you'll see a lot of that kind of theme coming through, of those pieces just coming together to make a really strong, cohesive, low-code platform that can work together. So to kick us off, I'm going to hand over to Roshona now to talk through Power Apps as our first topic and show you some really cool new stuff there.
All right, so let's check out Power Apps. One of the really cool new features are the mixed reality capabilities being brought into Power Apps. With this, we are bridging the gap between the physical and the digital world. Organizations out there, they're investing heavily in building bespoke AR applications, but the capabilities from Microsoft on the Power Platform democratize this. Anyone, from your frontline workers and so on, can both build their own Power App, leveraging off the AR capabilities, as well as use these features in their day-to-day work. So what does this look like? Here is an example from a demo that Charles Lamanna from Microsoft did during MBAS last week, demonstrating how IKEA, for example, have been using it. Built into the Power App, you can take any item from the IKEA store, use its 3D model to see what it's going to look like placed in the real world. So that's pretty cool. This is just using the device, the camera off your phone. You don't actually need a HoloLens to be able to do this. Mixed reality, it's allowing workers to understand physical spaces better. So you can use 3D models or measurements to easily discover ways on how to place an object, or say if a pathway is large enough, or what things are going to look like. Also with this, when you place the object into here with your camera, as you actually walk around, move closer to it, it's going to sync with that. So you can actually look at it from your device as if that object was really there. And of course, one of the other really cool things about it is that you can use the AR capabilities to take measurements of the real world. And you can do this directly from your Power App. So if you're someone who maybe works with equipment, you might be out on site with a client, you might be measuring something for installation to install some equipment or furniture, you can just take out your phone and measure it using this capability here. So you don't actually need like a physical ruler to go in and do all that. We are bringing low-code mixed reality into the hands of your workers just from using their device. And of course, as it's on Power Apps, when you actually use it here, you can also then send it back to something like Power Automate to kick off any automated processes that you might have around, like taking a measurement or placing an object. And this feature is currently in public preview. We already know that we can add a map to our Power App, but now we can up our game with this with the new geospatial features that are available. These new components are powered by Azure Map Services, but you just simply drag and drop in your app to be able to use it. The purpose here is to make our apps interactive, get a holistic view of your data while just looking at your map. Say you have a data set containing information regarding some locations. We can plot this on our interactive map and then use markers. We can see it that way and then drill down to see the information or the details behind it. And we get something that looks like this. This one here is actually an example created by one of the MVPs for a COVID use case. So you can track the spread and see where it's spread globally. But in terms of our more day-to-day operations, interactive maps, they can really come in handy for people like your field service technicians, sales, for example, if they want to have a map to see what customers they have placed nearby and then drill down into the details about that customer. And of course, so before we already had our Power App, it's able to use things like our GPS location feature from our phone, but now we can take advantage of that furthermore by the interactive map. So making it interactive and we can see all the data that sits behind it. All right, so let's take a look at Teams integration now. The use of Power Apps inside of Teams, it has actually nearly tripled in the last 2 months. Microsoft Teams is becoming the central place for workplace collaboration. And with the integration with Power Apps, you can bring everything that your users need under this one roof. So we have a couple things that we can look forward to in terms of Power Apps and Teams. And first up, Microsoft, they're going to be introducing a suite of production-ready Power App templates for Teams to really show you what is possible with it. So across spaces like HR, operations, customer service, and a lot more, they're going to be these ready-to-use templates available. You can also just deploy them within a few clicks. So just within Teams, you can do all the configuration. It's a screen that looks like this. So rather than going off to Power Apps or Power Automate, if you wanted to change any of the processes or how it works there, you can just do it very simply within a few clicks just from your Teams interface. Power Apps and Power Automate, they're really becoming an extension to Teams, and there's quite a lot of investment from Microsoft in this. So we can use Teams as a central hub to get everything done, rather than going off to a different application. And shortly after the templates are released, Microsoft will also release the ability for you to create your own templates for your company. You'll be able to package up a solution, give it a name, icon, description, and then when you're done, you can share it with people in your own company, or even to the Teams App Store if you wanted to release it to the community. A common feature across the Microsoft products is the ability to work with other parts of the platform from a single location. So for example, you have the ability to create a flow directly from Power Apps or from Power Virtual Agents. And now we are also getting this toolset introduced into Teams. We can make Teams better, customize it more by having Power Apps and Automate natively integrated with it. So we're going to get the tools to build a Canvas app directly within Teams itself. You can see here what it looks like. We get a simplified version of the tools, but by building it within Teams, we can then in turn build an app that really looks and feels native to Teams itself, where our users are actually going to be interacting with it. And just the other couple few announcements that they had here in terms of Power Apps, which I will just give you a quick overview of, which you can check out in more detail later if you're keen. So one of these is the Converge mobile app. Users can use or launch both Canvas and model-driven apps from a single mobile player. Also, Portal simplified authentication. So portals are going to allow users to log in with other details that they have. So it's their LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook account. You can use authentication that way. And usage analytics with Azure App includes analytic tools that help you diagnose issues and to understand what users are actually doing with your app.
Just before we move on to the Power Automate session there, I think, for those of you who are using Teams, which is, well, pretty much everyone at the moment, the ability to further extend Teams with these tools is going to be absolutely amazing. The way that these pieces are coming together now and allowing you to do that, where, we've been able to pin Power Apps in there, but building them right from within Teams is certainly one of those sort of big deal feature highlights that we saw last week. So yeah, as we move on to the Power Automate section now, please, if you've got any questions around anything we've shown you there in Power Apps, if you think anything there is exciting that would be a highlight from your point of view, or if you saw anything else, please pop it in the chat there as we keep going, and I'll keep an eye on that as we move through. So let's keep going. We're showing through to Power Automate now.
All right, thanks, Lisa. All right, so Power Automate. The headline for Power Automate is the Robotic Process Automation RPA capabilities. This means we can integrate and automate with systems that don't have an API. All that analog data and those legacy applications we use can now be brought into our flows. These once manual and repetitive processes can now be automated. We can get our workers to be more efficient and focus their time on higher value tasks. There are some other products out there which do RPA, but the benefit here is that we get the full package, API connections, as well as those connected via the user interface, as well as the full capabilities of the Power Platform and other Microsoft products alongside it, working together with things like our Power Apps, SharePoint, Teams, Excel. So this is just what it looks like. It's a very simple recording capability to capture our UI flows. Say we have a process which involves doing something like opening an Excel file and saving it as a new file type. Before, we would have needed to have someone manually doing this each time. It's just something an API can't do. The only way is to click through the steps. But now we have an UI flows connector. We launch a record for the UI flow, and it will record everything we are doing in this process. And we end up with something like this. So in the background, it's taken screenshots of all the steps that we've gone through, in this case in Excel. And you can see it's added it as steps here. Things like automated flows, instant flows, business process flows, we've already had. Now we have UI flows, so we can bring legacy into this mix. We already have Power Automate natively integrated with other Microsoft applications. Recently, we've seen this with Microsoft Teams and also within things like SharePoint, Excel. For example, there's that Automate button that you can use. And now with Power Automate, we have native integration with Power BI. You have BI woven into the fabric of your organization, and now you can kick off flows directly from a Power BI report using the new Power Automate visual. This is how you can turn those insights into action, whether you want that automatically or on demand. This is completely integrated into the Power BI experience. We can add a button to a dashboard that will trigger a flow, and we don't even need to go to the flow designer in order to do this. All right, and now we're up to Power Virtual Agents. Lisa, would you like to take us through that?
Yes, thank you, Roshona. We've had one question there in the chat, so that was just about the rough target release date for the Teams and Power Apps Canvas App Builder. So currently planned for July 2020, and I've just popped the link in there so you can keep an eye on that one if that's a particular thing that you're interested in. All right, so Power Virtual Agents. Let's just have a quick recap of the, what that is. It's the newest part of the platform. It only became available in December 2019, so this is pretty much brand new. And for those who haven't seen it before, this is a tool that allows everyone to easily build chatbots. So in our low-code story, this is making bot building easy, a no-code graphical interface for building bots. You can embed them anywhere, lots of different channels. So the concept here is that they can be used for more than just like a customer-facing bot on a website. You can also embed them in Teams. There it is again. You can embed them in Facebook, in Slack, in all sorts of different channels. So you've got lots of options, and we're seeing a lot of use cases with Power Virtual Agents that are actually internal use cases as well as external traditional use cases. And the automate actions there is something that I'm going to tell you about now, because that is actually one of the new feature highlights. So let's have a look at that one. So what we're seeing here is the ability to use Power Automate flows and call APIs. So this is a fundamental part of what we can do with Power Virtual Agents, is that it's not just a Q&A, question and answer chatbot. It actually can also take action. It can do things for your customer. It can do things for you. And that means that it can actually go out to your other business systems. And what we're seeing that is new and recently announced is that there's a connection connector here, which is embedded directly in the UI. So we just have a look at the screenshot that I've got here of what it looks like. There's a flow connector that takes you from, directly from the building experience inside Power Virtual Agents, and you can just say create a flow. So this is one of the things that I'm talking about in terms of these platform pieces coming together. You can now build a flow directly from within the Power Virtual Agent, get it to go out and reach out into your other systems and return values back, and build that flow just for the bot. So this is a really important capability of what you can do here. As part of the Power Virtual Agents license, you actually get access to Power Automate and 300 premium flow connectors for use with the bot only, not to just go off and do other things. And what that means is it allows you to create to all of those, connect to all of those third-party services, and doing it in this very easy, seamless way. There's also access to an HTTP connector, which means you can invoke any third-party API that you have. So this just means that your bot now can be open to, chatting with and interacting with any of your other business systems seamlessly from within there. The other feature that is, really exciting, and there's a couple of aspects of this, is the ability to customize your bot. So the first thing we're looking at here is the ability to customize the bot name to allow the bot to start the conversation. You can change your colors, you can change your icon, and then this one here is around customizing the bot behavior when you're not getting any intent triggered. So what that means is when the person interacts with the bot and the bot can't find which topic that's aligned with, the bot doesn't understand, the default behavior is after that happens twice, it would be escalated to an agent. But what you can do now is configure a system topic that is your fallback topic, and then that can determine what happens when the bot can't understand what the person's asking for. And that could include reaching out to a knowledge base of some sort, Q&A maker, third-party service, whatever you want to do, to go and sort of mine deeper for answers on things that might not be part of the bot. So that's expanding that behavior as well, that you can customize that. So some very cool new stuff there. There's actually a really longer list of features coming and just introduced for Power Virtual Agents as well. So a lot of investment in that product, but those are the sort of the big highlights that I wanted to call out on that one there. All right, common data service. This is where it starts to get a little bit meaty. We've put this kind of chunk right in the middle here. So the common data service sits, it's a foundational piece of the Power Platform. It's the native database application that's sitting underneath all of these things, underneath Power Apps, underneath Power Automate, underneath Power Virtual Agents as well. It's really the engine underneath that's keeping everything running. So there's a couple of really important announcements that are coming with the common data service. So let's take a look at the first one of those. Now, this is where I'll warn you, this one does get a bit techie. So for some of you on the line, you will be able to see straight away T-SQL endpoint for the common data service and go woohoo, because my friends who are pro developers see that and just beside themselves excited about it. So for those of you who are not pro devs, I'm going to take you through what this actually means for you, for us, for the platform. So what this means is people who use the SQL tooling, it's effectively bringing together this story of, where the common data service allows people to do things with no code, and people who are used to working with SQL tools are generally pro devs or prefer to work with that. It's starting to bring those two worlds together now. So this is why it's super exciting. So essentially, if you're on that side, all the SQL tooling you know and love, SQL Server Management Studio will just work. So this is a SQL endpoint for the common data service. There's no cliffs because it's enabling T-SQL and SQL Server Management Studio over the top of CDS. So that means you can look at the tables, the columns, you can write complex queries, and you're not connecting to the database under the CDS, you're actually connecting to CDS. So all of the authentication, authorization, plugins, rules, all of that advanced capability you want is available to you in the tooling that you know and love. There is a whole session on what's new in the Common Data Service that was at the Business Application Summit. So if you're interested in digging a little bit further into that, then I will pop that link in the chat here now while I'm talking to you. So this is on SQL and CDS. But, you know, for those of you who are into this world, this is a really super exciting announcement. For those who don't, it's exciting because it's really bringing together the pro code and low code worlds, which is where we get the absolute best out of the platform. So I'm very, very happy to see that development coming through. That actually enables the next thing. So the other important thing about this is that it's you know, in its own right, allowing people to access and do queries with those tools, but it actually enables more things. And this one is amazing. Actually, this is the direct query support for CDS in Power BI. So what this means now is that you can use the Common Data Service as a which also includes Dynamics 365 because it's the same database sitting underneath. You can use that directly with Power BI. So now you can get real-time updates, real-time slicing, views, reporting, and so on inside Power BI on top of your Common Data Service data. So that means the security just works, all your filtering, trimming, field level security, all of that just works inside the report. So what used to happen was people who were using the Common Data Service or Dynamics 365 would have to kind of export to a data warehouse, deal with security, trimming, whatever. Now you can just go direct from Power BI into your CDS data. And more than that, it also understands the structure of your data in Power BI. So if you've got relationships, option sets, all of that stuff is simplified and understands it. So it's very easy to build reports in Power BI on the CDS data without having to recreate all of that logic. So why do we care? No latency. You know, when we were doing this before, some of the CDS data would be stale, or Dynamics data will be stale. This is all real time. So this is about sort of, you know, rich real-time data to empower real-time decision making. Super exciting announcement of the platform pieces just working well together. And so for more on Power BI, Roshona, back to you.
Yep, thanks, Lisa. All right, so that leads us into more about Power BI. So at MBAS, we saw the introduction of the #1 requested feature by enterprises, and that's composite models. Composite models let you strike the balance between your enterprise semantic models set out by IT. You don't want anybody in your organization to be able to change this. But these can now be extended by business users to bring in their own local data. Composite models allow you to strike the balance between self-service and your central semantic model. So previously, we were locked down into one or the other. We could use direct query to get a live connection to our transactional data, but we couldn't then bring in our other data sources. But now we can enrich our insights by removing this restriction. A report can seamlessly include data connections from more than one direct query or import data connection in any combination that you choose. So composite models was definitely the biggest announcement there for Power BI, but there were a few other things that you might also be getting excited about. So one of these is visual personalization. End users can completely personalize a visual the way they want to see it. An end user can change the visualization type, things like dimensions, the legend, and Power BI maintains the connection between this personalized view back to the original report and the original data model. It really allows users to customize their experience and view the data in a way that makes sense to them. We also have a new mobile report authoring experience, so there are going to be more tools to create mobile versions of your reports. Smart narratives is something that will be coming later this year. The ability for Power BI to automatically summarize all the data to create a textual description of what's going on. As a business user, you can simply just read the text and understand exactly what's happening with the data. As you add your filters and do your slicing and dicing, the text is actually going to update itself. We also have application lifecycle management. You can take a Power BI application and move it between environments, from dev to test to production. It allows you to understand what's changed from one stage to the other. You can promote it when you're ready, and it understands the impact of these changes before you make them. Lineage and impact analysis. So this gives you an end-to-end view of your data source. You can trace where the data comes from, which gateways it flows through, and so on. All right, so let's take a look now at Dynamics 365 Sales. Lisa, would you like to take us through that?
I would love to take us through that. So for those of you who might be coming at this, we talk about the platform is, Power Platform and Dynamics 365. Dynamics 365 is, Dynamics 365 Sales is the CRM application part. We don't call it CRM anymore, but most people are familiar with that term, so I'm going to cheat a little bit and throw it in there. It's the part that allows you to do that customer relationship management, manage a sales pipeline, accounts, contacts, leads, opportunities, all of those kinds of things. So, this is sort of one of the core business applications. So we see, with the Power Platform and Power Apps, the ability to create custom business applications, whatever we want from the ground up. With Dynamics 365, you're getting a finished application. So really, depending on what your needs are, you've got those sort of two ends of the spectrum there available to you in the platform. So Dynamics 365 is getting some awesome investments made on the sales side of things. And so the first one here about the sales accelerator is really about enabling and automating inside sales and digital sales, which is, super important right now where we've a bigger shift to digital sales. So, on the one hand, we have some sales scenarios that are very high relationship, long selling scenarios. That's not what this is for. This is something that's filling a need for digital sales, inside sales, high volume, that kind of scenario. So what this new experience is going to do, this is designed for digital sellers with the Sales Accelerator, is that it gives you, it starts off on the left-hand side of the screen, there's going to be an intelligent work queue. So what this does is it's assembling a line of kind of the next best customers, the next best actions, next best tasks, who to talk to next. So all of that is down the side. So as someone who's coming in that inside sales scenario, they're working through a list of customers and a list of next best actions down the side. But it's also giving them a holistic view of the customer. So as they click through on each one of those, they're seeing in the main window there the understanding of who the customer is, what was happening recently, recommendations and insights on what they should do next. It's also allowing for automation with sequences. So this is about scaling a selling motion where as an organization you could predefine rules and logic to set up, what are the next best activities, sometimes completely automating those, sometimes offering them as suggestions, and the seller can go through and take those actions, click complete, and then it will kind of bring up the next one, and then working through that list completely in the context of that holistic view of the customer and those automated sequences. And then you can see a little bit on the right there, it's also working with a multi-channel or omni-channel, more than just sort of launching a phone and dialing. You can capture, transcribe the conversation. It allows you to send out emails. You can hear playback, extract, use AI to extract key action items for follow-up. So all of this is designed to scale a selling motion. It's designed for inside sellers, digital sellers, to simplify and to somewhat automate the efforts so that you can really scale that. So quite a new development and feature in there. I'm just going to pause for a second because we have got a few questions in the chat there. So I'm going to pick up on, actually they're not, I'm going to pick up on those. I'll pause at the end of this and come back to it because they're sort of related to the last section rather than this one. So I'll keep going with this one. So let's have a look at the other feature that I wanted to highlight here in the sales forecasting, and then I'll pick up those questions in the chat around CDS and licensing. So the other piece that's really important as an addition to Dynamics 365 sales here is around sales forecasting. So this has been identified as sort of one of the biggest gaps, I think, in what we've had with the sales app, is that everyone needs to do forecasting. We need to get those numbers right to be running a reliable business. And at this point, most people have been exporting that opportunity pipeline data and things into Excel and mashing it all up in Excel. So this now now brings a very, very rich forecasting feature into Dynamics 365. And it is designed to go, all the way from pipeline management through to organizational forecasting. It's designed to enable enterprise-grade forecasting, which essentially means that it's very open and easy to configure for your own needs. You can choose what fields you're rolling up on, what things are impacting the forecasting. So it's not a one-size-fits-all. Even better than this is advanced forecasting features. So these premium forecasting capabilities are coming with within the Sales app. There's AI add-ons that you can get with a product called Sales Insights, and this will give you, that extra edge that you need to do well with your forecasting, allowing you to do things like take snapshots so that you can see the changes over time. This opportunity moved out of committed here or came in there, so you can actually kind of get those snapshots and see what's going on. Microsoft is very heavily invested in the AI technology. There's advanced capabilities in here around predictive forecasting to understand the deals you've got in the pipe, how likely are they going to be to convert, so that you can get that predictive forecast, and it can even recommend to you what your quota should look like. So that's amazing, kind of coming through on the Dynamics 365 side there. All right, so that's all I had on Dynamics 365 sales. We'll have a look at some stuff on Power Platform governance here. I'm going to just pick up, there's a question here on which new features will require Office 365 user licenses greater than E3. So the principle around licensing with all of this stuff, with the Power Platform, is that you can use stuff on E3. The idea of the E3 license, and certainly when we start to talk about, teams can be extended by the Power Platform, that fits within that concept, is that it enables productivity scenarios. So the Office 365 is designed to enable productivity and collaboration. So where you're using Power Apps and Power Automate and using these tools to enable collaboration scenarios, enable the things you can do with Office 365, that's generally going to be included in that license. So extend Teams, extend SharePoint, extend Excel, work with Outlook, those kinds of things, and some other standard connectors are all included in that Office 365 license. As soon as you move into anything that requires a real database, so SharePoint is not a real database. As soon as you move into anything that requires connection to an enterprise system, anything that requires connection to SQL, to the common data service, then you have to pay for a license. So as we're going through all of these features here, if you're in Teams and you are creating an app that uses SharePoint as a backend, you're fine within the Office 365 license, but that will only enable a very limited kind of productivity scenario. Once you're getting over thousands of records, 5,000 records or something, SharePoint won't be the right place for that. If you want something scalable, enterprise level, relational database connecting to premium systems or common data service or SQL, you need to be paying for a license. So that's the kind of simple explanation of the way those two things work. Power Virtual Agents has its own license that's not included in E3. So really, if you're working on that Office license, you're working on just on those productivity scenarios with those extending those Office tools. All right, there's a couple more questions in there. Roshona, is there anything we should pick up now? There's a few things about the timeline and some just CDS stuff. Yeah.
Some people are excited.
Yeah, here we go. So is there any announcement around Power Virtual Agent bot? I'll just publish that one there, about Power Virtual Agent bot import-export between different environments coming in May. We can't wait for that one. So just there's a piece that will be very exciting once we've got it there. It's being worked on at the moment. This is a very important part of the Power Virtual Agent story, is that ability to have your bot as part of a solution and move it around between environments. It is absolutely coming. It's listed as a May release. I don't have an exact date, but I think that's going to be not too far off, and we can't wait for that one. Excellent. Someone's excited about premium sales forecasting. So am I. That's fantastic. I think it's a really important addition to what's going on with with Dynamics 365. We've seen absolutely massive growth in Dynamics 365. A lot of people will be familiar with Salesforce as a database for CRM. We're now seeing huge numbers, huge growth in that in the enterprise. Across Fortune 500 companies, absolutely going head to head with the functionality there. And I think with the extensibility with Power Apps and adding these advanced AI forecasting features in, that is now a very, very rich tool set that we've got there. There's a couple of other questions that I'll pick up at the end about dates and other functionalities on the CDS. So I'll keep going here with the Power Platform governance, and then we'll pick up those ones. All right, so let's have a look at, there's sort of two main things I wanted to highlight for you in Power Platform governance here, which is really about being able to have that secure and stable way of managing the platform. If you are interested in Power Platform governance, we do a little briefing on this for a couple of hours once a month. We've got one of those coming up next Wednesday, which you'll find on our events page. So please join us for that if you're more interested in more detail about how to govern the platform. So this is like the headline announcement. I'm using the American spelling because that is how it's spelt in the platform. One unified admin center. So some people, people are coming to this platform from all kinds of different angles. Some people start with Power Apps. Some people start with Power Automate. Some people are coming in from Dynamics 365 up until now. Those have been different admin experiences. And, I said right at the start here, one of the most exciting things is about the way this platform just works seamlessly together, the way all these tools work together. So having a single unified admin center is a really super important part of that as well. And so this week, last week at the Business Application Summit is the first time that Microsoft is now announcing, yes, we have one admin center to rule them all. So all of those things in the same experience, awesome kind of pre-built in metrics and the ability to perform all of those operations are all in one. So that might seem like a small thing, but that's a really big deal to be able to admin everything in the one place. The other thing that I wanted to highlight here is something that has been asked for a lot. So this is the ability to fully block the usage of a connector. So this is a top asked for feature. Previously in the platform, you've been able to choose, to manage your data loss prevention policies by separating out to say these connectors. So the platform has like 300 different connectors built in. So you could say these connectors are business data and these connectors are not business data, which would mean that people couldn't build apps or flows that talked between business and non-business data. So you might say, my Dynamics 365 database and my, my other bits and pieces here are my business systems, but Twitter is not a business system and I don't want anyone building across those. Or conversely, if you're in a marketing scenario, Twitter may well be a business system. So you could always determine these are my business connectors and these are my non-business connectors, and you can't build apps and flows across both of those things. So the new feature announcement here is you can fully block something. So you could take something like Twitter, or in this example, we've got Salesforce and SAP on the screen. You can take any system that's got a connector and say, I'm blocking that completely from my environment, from my tenant, wherever you need to put that. And that means that the users cannot build any apps or flows with that connector. They just can't use that connector at all. So that's a really powerful one and something that's been asked for a lot. All right, so I think that's the end of the highlights that we had to talk to you about. Please pop in the chat window. What I'll do here is just go through and check on the questions that have come in. Please pop in your highlights. I can see some things coming through from people. So thank you for doing that. And let us know what you're most excited about here. Or certainly if you attended the Business Application Summit, or if you've watched anything there, let us know of anything else you saw there that you might call out as a highlight for you, because certainly this is our highlights and not comprehensively absolutely everything that was announced. So we're trying to pick up those things. So let's see, timing. So we've got a few questions here about timing for release of new things. So I'm just going to have a look at that here on the side. Roshona, did you want to talk about your kind of highlights from the session?
I reckon for me, probably the mixed reality that probably got me hyped the most, I reckon.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about what I can do with it. I'm thinking maybe might use it to plan out like some new furniture for maybe our event space at our office or something like
That's
that.
a really cool idea. Yeah. That's
What
awesome.
about you, Lisa?
Oh, look, do you know what? So this is the thing. I'm probably the poster girl for low code, but it excites me that we're bringing the high code and low code worlds together with this T-SQL connector. You know, I was chatting with some of my community friends around the world while we were watching overnight, and that part about, you know, direct connection to Power BI from the CDS and the T-SQL endpoint and what that's enabling. As much as that's not my game, I see my colleagues who work with that stuff super excited about that. I also know that we have a lot of SQL users who come along to App in a Day and have lots of questions about those things. So the fact that that endpoint is opening up and enabling already as first cab off the rank the ability to have you know, real-time Power BI reports sitting on the Common Data Service and on Dynamics I think that's amazing. And I think that the CDS has at its heart a lot of, you know, we haven't covered all the stuff here, but there's a whole session from Business Applications Summit on what's new in the Common Data Service. So there's a lot of engineering stuff going on under the hood that is just making the whole thing just work together, work better, do more. So, you know, for me, that's really exciting as well. What I'm going to do, I'm going to go through and pop. I'm going to go through and have a look at the questions of what we want to find here. But I'm also going to enable you to be able to find this. To find this stuff here. So this is the wave one release notes, because what happens is I can tell you now, and I will go through and find these things now. Just pressed enter a little bit too soon there. This is where you'll find, so that's the Power Platform one, and they will be updated as things change. So for instance, you know, if things slip or change or come forward or whatever, this is always the place that will give you the most up-to-date dates. So let's just have a look here. We had a question about the sales forecasting. So timing for Kate, thank you for giving us your name. Sometimes these all come through as anonymous questions. So, so Kate, thank you for that. So we've got here, what's the timing for the release of the dynamic sales new features? So the forecasting stuff is coming in. I think that's actually available now. Sorry, I shouldn't even need to check that one. That one has just gone. Yeah, so we'll pop this in here. Sales forecasting is available now. And I'm actually working up a demo on that one. So if you're interested in knowing more about that, we will have an event coming up on that one soon. I need to get that one happening. So sales forecasting is now generally available. And we have got what else have we got in the chat there that we needed to pick up, Roshona?
Just taking a look. Timeline for direct query of CDS.
Yeah, everyone's very excited about the T-SQL endpoint.
I reckon that was probably the one that got the most hype.
It was actually, and it's kind of funny because there's a point in the virtual event where I think it's Charles Lamanna calls out and says, "I would like to think if we're in person right now, we'd get a round of applause for this." And I think they would have. I was lucky enough to be there in person when it was an in-person event last year. And last year when they announced Power Apps portals, everyone actually clapped. Nothing more exciting than being in a room full of techies who are all equally excited about a new feature. So I'm like visualizing the entire community clapping on those things. So let me find the T-SQL endpoint date, because that seems to be the other question we've got most there. What are other people? I know we've had a few comments in the chat there, Roshona, while I'm finding the dates here. Let's see what are people calling out as their favorite things.
We're getting mixed reality.
Yep.
Someone else has asked for some links to some of our previous sessions.
Oh, okay, cool. So do you want to pop that link in there? We don't record all of our sessions. We try to mix up at the moment. You know, we do some things as webinars. So we did a couple of weeks ago, like a Power Platform in a week of lunches, which will be up shortly if it's not already. I did one back in January, a bit like this, but sort of a bigger picture view on the whole of Wave 1. So that was like a 6-month roadmap session. So some of that is probably worth watching. That captures kind of a broader overview than what we've done here. We're focusing on the sort of really recent things. And as I said, I'm hoping this is helpful enough that we can do this once a month, because there's certainly enough news once a month on the platform to say, hey, here's what's coming or what's been released. The T-SQL endpoint is in preview and not available everywhere yet. It was only, it was only announced last week. So there's always a mixture with this thing of things that were announced a little bit further in advance and so on. So I haven't actually got a date for that one yet. That's just showing as a preview only at this point. So I can't immediately see a date on that one. We will keep you posted when that one comes out. Certainly, that's going to be a big deal.
Yep, looks like the people we have online today are most hyped about both mixed reality and the direct query for CDS. I reckon those are the most popular for us.
I think we nailed it. That's yeah, and the mixed reality thing is also, the other thing that's exciting about the mixed reality is that, like, you just think for a second about this. I had a big wow factor moment the first time I saw that stuff too, because this is enabling mixed reality low code on your device, right? Don't need a HoloLens. I mean, you can obviously still do more stuff with a HoloLens, right? But this is a real game changer here. You don't need a HoloLens, and you can do it with a drag and drop low code experience. To me, that's just staggering that that's possible. And what it means is that it opens up the possibility to use this technology in more circumstances. The same with the bots, with Power Virtual Agents. It opens up the possibility for people to use chatbots in more scenarios, because the cost of deploying and the skills required to deploy have just been lowered substantially. It's not as expensive. You don't have to kind of have a specialist dev team building something from scratch, because the Microsoft engineers have done that part, so that you can drag and drop it and enable that scenario with no code and no fancy device other than your phone. So the idea that I could build a mixed reality app on my phone is just it's extraordinary kind of development in the technology there. All right, what else have we got? More about so we're just going to publish some of these comments here. Mixed reality is good. Do you want to grab the link for the previous sessions on the website? Roshona, have you got that?
I've just put a link to all our webinars there. I'm not sure if the latest ones we've done are on there. Let me double check.
That's all right. So they will be there shortly if they're not there. But yeah, you'll find.
Not there yet, but they will be there.
So you pop that webinar link in there as well. Yep. And then we've also got that upcoming calendar of events to do those kinds of things. Very excited for T-SQL endpoint. Awesome. Timing for direct query. As I said, we're not sure that's just preview at this stage. No date that I can find. I think something big like that is just sort of announced. Now we've got another one here. Is there a way to expose CDS to other databases too? I'm not quite sure what that question is getting at. You can certainly integrate. So the way that it works is, the common data service is the sort of the heart of the thing in the database. You can use all of those connectors in Power Automate. So you can certainly have things, if you've got another database going, that if a record is created there, you can take an action in the common data service or vice versa. There isn't another, in terms of like an endpoint to another thing. I'm not sure if that's what you're asking. Again, that's an anonymous question, so I'm not sure where that one's come from, but I don't quite know what that one's asking for. But certainly using Power Automate connectors, using the platform connectors, you can reach out to any other APIs and any other databases. So that might answer that question. All right, got a couple of minutes left. I think I think we've handled most of the questions that have come through there. Have I missed anything? Let's see. So there's a question there that just says unified but not Power BI. To be honest, I don't know what that means. Con, hello. Might have missed this earlier, but does mixed reality require any particular kind of phone camera to work? For example, only on iPhones? I don't believe so. Did you come across anything there, Roshona, with the
but as far
limitation
as I
on that?
know, any device, as long as you got a camera on there, you can use it. Shouldn't be any
Yeah.
restrictions.
Yeah, it's not sort of using the iPhone capability, if you like, of mixed reality. I know there are things like the Google MR and things that are sort of taking advantage of a device-based thing. I'll pop the link in the chat here to sort of more sort of documentation about MR in Power Apps, but I haven't seen that it's, I mean, there's always minimum requirements for, you know, for devices and operating systems and things, but I haven't seen anything that says that it has to be only on one.
Yeah, as far as I know, I haven't come across, or they haven't mentioned anything like that.
Yeah, usually it sort of comes up pretty upfront. So that's available in public preview. Yeah, no, it hasn't specified anything like that, Con, so not that I'm aware of. Peter G, is mixed reality related to SharePoint spaces in any way? I'm going to have to call out that I'm not familiar with SharePoint spaces, and so I don't think it is, because there's no cross-referencing of that anywhere that I've seen, but I don't know what SharePoint spaces does, to be honest. That I'm going to be able to answer that one. I might have to take that one on notice, and certainly thank you for giving us your name, which means that I will be able to follow that one up for you. Oh, there we go. Okay. Yep, I'll have a look at that one and follow that one up. Follow that one up for you as well. There. Is there any update for multi-tenant Power Apps to interact with each other? Not that I've come across. I know that was on the roadmap. So there's the idea of having guest access. That's been sitting on the roadmap for a while. So again, I might grab your name, Anonymous, there, if you want to just let me know who you are, and I'm happy to take that one on notice as well. There's about 700 pages worth of new release notes. I'm pretty well across it, but every now and again something catches me out there. All right, still a couple more questions coming in. This is great, lots of interaction today. Thank you both. Excellent. Thank you, Jad.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I reckon we might we might finish on that high note there. So thank you everyone so much for joining us. I hope this has been useful. We've certainly had a lot of people register for this and a lot of people join the call. So we'll be doing this once a month as a fairly regular thing. The recording will be available. We'll get that up on our website and certainly let you know. And yeah, continue to join us for these things, and we'll keep putting out stuff about what's new in the platform. And thanks so much for being with us today.